revealed that construction on Saudi Arabia's The Line actually started.
This looks
the project
ridiculous.
has been heavily debated in recent months, and most said that it's too gigantic to build and rather looks like something out of a science fiction movie. But now that construction has actually begun, how will this turn out? Could this be the beginning of the world's greatest mega project ever? Or will the line become a $1 trillion construction mistake that will eventually be abandoned? Let's find out.
It might be abandoned.
The exact plan of the line was unveiled by Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, in July 2022, and we already covered it in our first video about the line.
Why is he making the Trump face? You know?
He proposed 2 parallel 500-meter tall skyscrapers made of reflective glass, which are supposed to span 170 kilometers through the desert. This would be equivalent to 2 lines consisting of 2,001 World Trade Centers each. The line is not just the biggest mega project ever proposed, it's a new way of living. There would be no cars inside the city, and everything you need would be within a 5-minute walk. All of the energy would be produced through wind and solar farms, and in addition, any water used will come from a carbon-free desalination plant. All of this would make the line a zero-carbon city. The proposal caused a mixture of shock, awe, and suspicion. And while the trailers were watched millions of times on YouTube and other platforms, there was hardly any information on what was really happening on the construction site. Therefore, almost everyone believed that the line was just a publicity stunt to gain attention. But then, around 3 months after the presentation of Mohammed bin Salman, things took a surprising turn. Construction began. On the 19th of October 2022, drone footage of the construction site was revealed by OT Sky. The video shows dozens of excavators digging trenches along the desert, which will form the foundation of the line. The excavation already leads very far inland. It's hard to say how far exactly it goes, but they could be close to the mountains in the background. According to the official map on NEOM's website, the line starts at this bay and cuts through these mountains. Because of the terrain and since the sea is visible in the background, the footage was probably taken somewhere here, so the excavations might already be 10 to 20 kilometers long. On top of that, more infrastructure is being built around the whole project. On Google Maps, there are multiple developments visible. There is a whole site with offices and camps close to the mountains, a NEOM community with a football field and swimming pools, and a NEOM Experience Center. Since these images aren't up to date, there are probably a lot more by now. So, now that construction has really started, how could this turn out? There's nothing comparable to this in the whole world, so we can only speculate what will happen next, but we can say that there are basically 3 possible outcomes. The first possibility is that construction on the line will come to a halt in a few months or even years without any people moving in. Similar to the Jeddah Tower or the Dubai Creek Tower, it could turn into a project where its construction status remains unclear. In both cases, stunning renderings were shown and great promises were made. Construction was started and it looked like the buildings would actually be finished. But then, everything came to a halt, and no progress has been made since. However, this seems to be a less likely outcome for the line, since it is backed by an entire country and received massive attention from the whole world. Getting the project even close to completion could be a great opportunity to bring more tourists and investors to Saudi Arabia. The second scenario is that Saudi Arabia heavily invests in their current plans, and that over the next decades the country really achieves what it promised in its trailers. Implementing certain features could definitely be possible, like having no cars, generating 100% renewable energy, and implementing the idea of vertical living. However, when it comes to the sheer size of the project, it just seems to be undoable. We mentioned earlier that the line is supposed to have a similar height as the One World Trade Center, which took around 8 years to complete. While that's still a reasonable time frame, Saudi Arabia wants to build a structure of similar height, but 170 kilometers in length. That would essentially be like building a continuous strip of 2,000 One World Trade Centers. And since the project contains 2 of these lines, it would actually be like building 4,000 of them. Simply multiplied by 8 years each, we would end up at 32,000 years. Of course, Saudi Arabia would build them much faster since they could start working on multiple parts at once, but it illustrates the scale quite well. Essentially, it would be a task for centuries. To give you another idea, around 40,000 workers constructed the Three Gorges Dam in China, and it took them 17 years. But with a height of just 180 meters and a length of merely 2.3 kilometers, it's tiny compared to the line. But there is a third possible outcome. Given that they have already started construction, there might be a compromise. At the start, we asked if this could be the greatest megaproject humanity has ever seen, or a trillion-dollar construction mistake. But maybe there is another option. Like many of you in the comments of our last video already said, Saudi Arabia could build it, but not at the insane lengths they envisioned. The line is built as 5-minute walk segments, so they could essentially build the whole megaproject bit by bit. Depending on the demand, they could simply extend the length when needed. In addition, the height of the line could be adjusted, making the project much more realistic and easier to build. With half of the height, the whole concept of vertical living remains the same, and all of the features could still be implemented. Even if the line is built at a much smaller scale, it could be the world's first modern car-free city and open the world up
Okay, but
to
what
an
is the
entirely different way of living.
Why are they acting like there's not gravity? Where's that part? Why?
There are
What?
multiple initiatives to make cities more car-free.
Like all the trailers have
However,
people
these
floating,
have been
like they're in
limited to
space.
reducing car usage rather than removing cars completely. Most major cities are centered around the car, so trying to change this is incredibly
Oh,
complicated.
magnets, of
With
course.
the
I should have
line,
known.
They get to start again from scratch. It could be the first larger city in the 21st century where the number of car journeys reaches 0. All of a community's basic amenities are intended to be within a walkable distance. And if not, a proposed underground railway system can be used
Imagine
for
not
longer
living in the
journeys
first
throughout
block
the line.
home iglal
When
fucking
the first people
blocklets.
start moving in by
Stop
2030,
talking to me.
they could be living in the proposed high-tech society, but on a much smaller scale. So, which of these outcomes is the most likely?
Please
What are
comment.
experts saying about this insane project? It's a project that not many experts will agree is feasible, particularly under the extremely tight timeline. Anthony Vives, Chief Urban Planning Officer at NEOM, told CNBC, "I want to be clear about this. NEOM is a complex, bold, and highly ambitious undertaking, and is most certainly not an easy one to deliver. But we are making strong progress, and it's exciting to see the vision come to life." On the other hand, a lot of experts not involved in the project are mentioning other concerns. Marshall Brown, professor of architecture at Princeton University, told Disturns.
What is this? The
Marshall Brown,
motherfucking. What's that one movie? Interstellar?
professor of architecture at Princeton University, told Dezeen there would be so many physical and environmental phenomena that would have to be dealt with to achieve this incredibly minimal and singular character that the renderings propose. So, what do you think? Now that construction has started, will this project succeed in some way? Will people actually live there in the future? Or will this project turn into an abandoned mega project? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching and
that'd be
supporting
cool.
our videos, and we'll see you in the next one.
But it also could just be one of those, like, princes with just too much money. And like, you know what? Let's do this. This looks fun. And then it just all fucking fails. I don't know. But I saw that and I thought it was cool. So weird. Another good video by him.
Let's imagine New York City, but with a massive airport 70 meters above Midtown Manhattan. While this clearly sounds like a ridiculous idea, in the 1940s, this was an actual plan for a mega project. In today's video, we'll look at incredible mega project proposals that were never built. Some
Okay.
of these were just insane ideas that didn't seem practical, while others were affected by financial and political constraints. Which of the following projects would you like to see in reality?
God.
Let us know in the comments below.
Ugh.
Number 6. The Dream Airport above New York. Everyone has an image in mind when they think of New York, with its cultural landmarks and its iconic skyline. But this image could have looked quite different today, with an insane plan proposed in the 1940s that would have completely changed Midtown Manhattan. In 1946, one of New York's most successful real estate developers, William Zeckendorf, proposed the idea for a rooftop airport in Midtown Manhattan along the shores of the Hudson River. Dubbed New York City's Dream Airport, the megastructure would span the length of 144 Manhattan blocks, with a 70-meter-high deck roughly the size of Central Park.
An airport.
A series of 10-story buildings were to be constructed underneath the deck for waiting areas, ticket offices, and small businesses. The airport wouldn't just accommodate air travel. The plans included piers for ships from the Hudson River, as well as roads and railways beneath the platform. Estimated to cost $3 billion at the time, it would have been the biggest airport project of all time. The main motivation for this plan was to reduce travel time. In the 1940s, New York already had problems with traffic congestion, and with all of its major airports outside of Manhattan, reaching these transit points was often difficult. A midtown airport would have erased the need for travelers to drive to Newark, LaGuardia, or JFK. If built, the airport would have changed New York forever. Some of the skyscrapers seen today lay in this area, for example Hudson Yards, and wouldn't exist
Imagine
today,
living next to that
also,
shit.
The surrounding area would have been developed quite differently. While this idea looks crazy, there are obvious reasons why this plan didn't turn into reality.
There was a house
First
that
of all, an airport in the middle
I'm not
of
gonna
the
talk about the
world's
video.
busiest city would be a nightmare for the residents. This airport was designed to accommodate 68 flights an hour, so people would essentially deal with aircraft noise every minute of the day. In addition,
There you go.
traffic in New York was a major problem already, and with people flooding to Midtown for their flights, it would add another congestion headache to the city's plans.
I mean, truth be told, like, do
But
their
even if
ears
they got
even
approval,
work
it would present major
in New York
engineering
anymore? Like, I
challenges.
feel like there's
Also,
so much
acquiring the
sound
land for the
already.
project, clearing up
They
the
wouldn't
existing
notice it.
structures in a 144-block radius, and then rebuilding the whole area with an airport on top would probably make it the largest and most complicated megaproject in New York's history. Overall, it's obvious that
Forget
building an
about
airport
it.
70 meters above New York with surrounding skyscrapers and residents wasn't going to happen. So while there was excitement for this unparalleled airport, the ambitious plans remained limited to the newspapers. Number 5. The most iconic hotel in the world. We stay in New York and look at another impressive plan from the early 1900s. At that time, the city was witnessing a skyscraper boom. In 1908, the Singer Building became the first skyscraper to cross the height of 150 meters. And it would be followed by giants like the Chrysler Building and the Empire State Building. Across the Atlantic Ocean, the renowned Spanish architect Antoni Gaudí showed a completely different architectural style with attention to detail and curved shapes. His iconic designs for buildings like Casa Mila and Casa Batillo, based on a celebration of nature and Catalan culture, were unlike anything seen in New York. Impressed by Gaudí's genius, two businessmen went to Barcelona in 1908 to convince him to create a masterpiece in New York. Gaudí was interested and proposed a grand hotel that would soar 360 meters into the sky. The exterior of the building would shine using alabaster, glass, and tiles, while its interior would house restaurants, theaters, concert halls, and an exhibition theater at a height of more than 100 meters. At the time, the plans for such a tall building were unprecedented and overwhelming. However, Gaudí was known for accomplishing the unthinkable. In the end, his plans were never finalized. Part of the reason is that Gaudí had dedicated his life to Barcelona's most famous landmark, the Sagrada Familia, in the following years. The Hotel Atracción was only at a very early stage, and going to New York would mean leaving behind the Sagrada Familia, a project that Gaudí would work on for a total of 43 years, until the end of his life.
What the fuck? Okay, let's move on.
The
Come on.
project was ultimately abandoned, but never forgotten. It was revived once again in 2003, when some Spanish architects submitted the design for the new World Trade Center design competition. While Gaudí's original sketches remain alive to this day, it doesn't seem like the project will ever be built. But if the Hotel Atracción stood in Manhattan today, it would certainly be one of the most interesting buildings in the world. Number 4. the mile-high Illinois skyscraper. Chicago is widely considered to be the birthplace of the skyscraper, and according to one famous proposal, it could have been the runaway leader in the quest for building the tallest skyscraper in the world. In 1956, architect Frank Lloyd Wright presented his vision for the Illinois, a mile-high skyscraper. The idea was insane because at the time, the tallest building in the world was the Empire State Building, which was less than 1/4 of what the Illinois was proposed to be. Lloyd Wright was against the sprawling cities and wanted to build something that would save space on the ground and take the cities upward. His 8-meter-tall replica of the Illinois included 528 floors, atomic-powered elevators, and parking for 15,000 cars and 100 helicopters. It was a whole city in itself, and Wright said that it could hold all government offices and eliminate the need for other skyscrapers popping up around Chicago. Wright's proposal was impressive, however, it simply wasn't doable at the time. In fact, to this day, the tallest building in the world is the Burj Khalifa, which isn't even half the height proposed for the Illinois. Realization of Wright's design was never considered, which is why there are only a few sketches and models of it still around. Number 3. America's tallest failed skyscraper. We stay in Chicago and take a look at a much more realistic skyscraper, which was even under construction. Almost 50 years after Wright's proposal, the Chicago Spire was to become the tallest building in the country and would have kept that record to this day. It was designed by another famous Spanish architect, Santiago Calatrava, who has designed other impressive projects like the World Trade Center Transportation Hub and Sweden's Turning Torso. The spire was originally proposed in 2005.
That doesn't look tall at all. What the heck? Oh, it's pretty tall.
Sweden's Turning Torso.
They're always Spanish, it seems like.
Was proposed in 2005 and was taken over by Garrett Kelleher of the Shelburne Corporation for construction. The tower would have had a slender, curved design that would rise 610 meters into the Chicago sky. With great enthusiasm, the construction of this project began in 2007. Because of the slender design, the tower's foundations had to be very deep, so excavation went 22 meters into the ground. However, just as the foundations were laid down, the progress came to a halt. Like many other projects of the mid-2000s, the Great Recession played a key role in stopping the Chicago Spire. The major financier of the project, the Anglo-Irish Bank, was struggling for survival, so automatically there was no investment to take the construction further. This started a chain reaction of several lawsuits of different parties, and after ongoing financial problems of the project developer, they were forced to suspend construction. By that time, only the foundation of the spire was completed. In 2013, Shelburne Corporation underwent a bankruptcy reorganization plan, and this incredible project that was supposed to rise over Chicago only left a hole in the ground. 3 years later, Related Midwest took over the site, and after proposing several new plans, the Chicago City Council approved an updated design for the 400 Lakeshore Drive in 2020.
Huge
this
pond.
This project consists of 2 staircase-like towers with a height of 267 and 233 meters. According to the company, construction will begin this year, so there is hope that the site will not remain a hole in the ground forever. Number 2. Hitler's plan to build the largest dome in the world. The fall of Nazi Germany finally put an end to Hitler and his terrible, cruel acts. It also spelled the end for some of its insanely massive architectural projects, one of which was the planned capital city of Germania and its most important building, the Great Hall. Berlin was supposed to become the capital of the New World, named Germania.
Is that a fucking... Was that a Ferris wheel in the middle of the fucking road?
Capital of the New World, named Germania. Hitler wanted to reorganize the city along a central 5-kilometer-long boulevard from the north to the south that would cross with an east-west axis in Berlin. At the north end of this new central axis was supposed to be the Great Hall. The sketches for this colossal domed structure were made by Hitler himself. He had visited the Pantheon in Rome during the 1920s and was planning on building something even more impressive and a lot bigger. The dome would rise to a height of 290 meters
Looks like Dome
and
Keeper.
was said to be 250 meters wide, making it the most prominent building on the continent. The huge hall on the inside would potentially fit 150,000 people at once. It was so gigantic that the hall would have been 17 times the volume of St. Peter's Basilica. By building insanely huge architecture, Hitler wanted to perpetuate his empire. According to historian Wolfgang Benz, the Great Hall was intended to enforce the structures of rule. According to him, this type of architecture was designed to subjugate, overwhelm, and seduce people. Barely anything of the plans for Germania were ever built, except for a few shell structures. In the end, the Great Hall, as well as other plans, came crashing down with the defeat in 1945. And they are a reflection of the seductive delusions of grandeur and the inhuman ideologies pervasive in Nazi Germany. Number 1. The sphere vision of the pyramids of Giza. For our last mega project, we go further back in time to the 18th century in France. This project was said to be dedicated to one of the world's most important scientists, Sir Isaac Newton. In his honor, French architect Étienne Louis Boullé proposed this 150-meter-high cenotaph that would even surpass the Great Pyramid of Giza. While the Great Pyramid was the burial place of Egyptian Emperor Khufu, the cenotaph was planned to be a memorial for Sir Isaac Newton, who rests in London's Westminster Abbey. As an homage to Newton's scientific contributions, Boullé wanted to build what was the world's first domed planetarium. Boullé dotted the interior of his spherical structure with tiny holes reflecting the positions of the constellations and the planets. During the night, a majestic spherical lamp would illuminate the structure and act like the sun in a universe created by the arrangement of holes on the surface. However, much like the other projects in this video, his proposal just wasn't doable at the time. Boullé himself would have been aware of that, as he saw architecture not just as a science of building, but more as a science of ideas and imaginations. So, the cenotaph remained an incredible idea that didn't get built.
All right, guys.
If you enjoyed, make sure you like this video and
I'm gonna do a fundraiser stream. We're gonna make this happen. God. I wonder how much money we'd have if we pulled the bank account of every single person in my stream right now. Out of curiosity. I wonder. $100, about $350. Do not touch my money. Okay. Jesus Christ. Wait, Nick actually told me there's actually a an art museum, and I think somewhere in Europe, I don't know where. And one of the art pieces, you put your credit card into it, and it scans your bank, and then it displays on this big screen for everyone to see how much money is in your bank account. The ATM. Or it's an ATM, yeah. That's it. And so people go, there's like some video of some girl, or some lady rather, who just stared at it for 3 hours. And one of the comments said, she's looking for a husband. Damn. So fucked up. But I thought it was interesting. So, like, some guy, like, apparently there was some video of some person who swiped their card and it had, like, most people have less than 10 grand in their bank account, right? Which doesn't get you a lot in the modern world. But then after that guy swiped their card, some, like, 23-year-old came over who's in the crypto business, and it was, like, fucking 25 million. Some crazy, stupid shit, you know? I don't know. Thought it was cool. What else is out there? Can you show us? I mean, Nick just told me about it. Since we were in the car yesterday for like 3 hours driving. For some stupid shit. Watch Dead Space remaster gameplay. What? Why would you have that much in your bank account? Terrible financial literacy. I've never invested money. Well, I guess I kind of have in like housing, but yeah, my money in my bank account is just AFK and I'm losing money on it. It's laziness. But also every single time I've tried to invest, an issue has come up. Like, I was this close to investing money. I had a meeting with a family guy who would help me like invest and everything. And then he came over and he's like, hey, so this new thing's going on right now and they're calling it COVID. We're not really sure. Like, no one knows anything yet, but I think things are a little iffy right now. I have not talked to him since. So, I don't know. I still remember I had a stream. I think I was playing Ori and the Blind Forest, the newest one. And I remember being on stream and my whole chat saying like COVID, COVID. And I remember being like, it's just the flu, guys. It's not a big deal. Everyone's freaking out. Can y'all shut up? I banned like half my chat. I had no idea. You know, it is what it is. All right. I think that's pretty much it for today. There ain't jack shit else. All right. So tomorrow, charity stream.